Hi friends, I'm Farooq Geelani with the third part of this Cold War. Today we will discuss here impact of the Cold War. As you know, when there was Cold War between the two power blocs, the whole world got divided into two power blocs. The first bloc led by USA known as capitalist bloc, the second bloc known as communist bloc or what we call the socialist bloc led by USSR. This gave birth to the bipolarity. The whole world got divided into two ideologies. Some of the countries favored USA and some of the countries favored USSR. By implementing their ideology, the world got divided into two power blocs. The one power bloc known as capitalist bloc, the another power bloc known as socialist bloc. What we call, there was the emergence, the first and the foremost impact of the Cold War was that world got divided into two blocs, what we know as bipolarity, as the world got divided into two power blocs. The second cause, the second impact of the Cold War was the excessive militarization. By excessive militarization, we mean both power blocs, both communists as well as capitalists were trying hard to maintain their powerfulness, to show their hegemony, to show their leadership, to show their quality, to show that the whole world is respecting their ideology. As such, they tried to form the groups of the army. As such, most of the budgets, most of the economic resources were diverted for formation of the militaries. Both the countries tried to maintain their own military, to have their own forces in order to show the world that we are more powerful from each other. So the second impact of the Cold War, we can say here, was the excessive militarization by both the countries. The third was the arms race and the disarmament. The arms race and the disarmament. How we can, the arms race here refer when world got divided into two parts. America show its hegemony. America showed its power when it dropped two atom bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Just in its retaliation, to counter its hegemony, USSR came with several technological advances to make its own arms and ammunition to deter or to counter the American ideology. In order to, there was a huge arms race in both the blocs. Both blocs were trying to govern more and more states in order to show that they are more powerful. But at the same point of time, there were the disarmaments. When both countries came to know that having of more and more powers, having of more and more these arms, having of more and more these military equipments, having more and more technology in hand will once come to end, that the whole world will get vanished if by any kind of misunderstanding both the countries came to each other, came to attack each other, could not dare to each other, could not tolerate to each other. That will be the end of the human lives. That will be the end of this earth planet. As such, they tried to have disarmaments too. From one point of time, from one side, they were having the arms race, but from the another side, they were trying to have the disarmaments too, in order to protect the world from the occurrence of Third World War. Likewise, the fourth impact was dictatorship, emergence of dictatorship. As you know, the democracy is being educated throughout the world that this is the most relevant form whereby people have the right to choose their governments. At the same point of time, wherever the military or the armed forces were trying to snatch the powers from the elected governments, despite of the fact knowing that dictatorship is not good, but these power blocks were trying to have good and formal relations, with those dictators too, in order to gain more and more support from those countries whereby the governments were thrown by the dictators. So the fourth cause was the fourth impact of the bipolarity or the Cold War was that there was the emergence of dictatorship. As you know, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, we have seen we will see in the coming chapters what happened there. Likewise, the fifth thing was importance to small states. The small states which were achieving their independence, the small states which were having no say, but all the countries were trying. Once the small state will come to its bloc, it will be favored, it will be given the collective security, it will be provided the loans, it will be provided the aids, it will be given the economic boost in order to help our ideology. So these were the repercussions, these were the impacts, these were the consequences of the Cold War. What you, by tomorrow, if you will be asked, what were the impact of the Cold War? Here in a nutshell you can say the first and the foremost thing, the foremost impact was emergence of bipolarity. The second was excessive militarization. The third was arms race and disarmament. Likewise, there was the emergence of dictatorship, and likewise there was the importance was given to the states. Likewise, likewise, the importance to the small states was given. But meanwhile, both the countries, both the power blocs tried to have their arms, to have their military alliances, to have their more and more powerful armies at their back. As such, they tried to have some alliances or the military formation of military blocs. The first formation of the military power bloc was made by USA in the year 1949, which what we call NATO. In NATO, there were 12 countries came together. They formed an organization, what is known as NATO North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It came into being in the year 1949. The 12 countries agreed that they will have a collective security, that they agreed once any one of the members is being opposed, is being attacked, is being harassed by this Eastern Bloc, they will collectively defend the attack from the rival country. Nowadays, this NATO, it is having 30 members. In Kuwait, when Kuwait was attacked, when Kuwait was invaded by this Iraq in the year 1990, in which we saw that it was relegated by force by these NATO forces. Likewise, another military organization aimed at formation of military groups was SEATO, Southeast Asian Treaty Organization. It was built in the year 1954. Its aim was to give the security to the Southeast Asian countries. In the beginning, there were the 5 members. Out of five members, the 2 powers, the 2 countries from the region, that is Philippines and Thailand, were from the southeast, rest were the countries from the western. Likewise, another organization which we know as CENTO, Central Nations Treaty Organization, Central Treaty Organization, or what we call as Baghdad Pact. This Baghdad Pact was signed in 1955, in which 8 countries agreed to come with each other to have a collective security, to get the collective security at their back, led by USA. Likewise, Warsaw Pact in its opposition was made by this USSR to give counter to NATO, to SEATO, to CENTO. Another military bloc was formed under the leadership of USSR, what is known as Warsaw Pact or Poland Agreement. So there were the formation of military blocs in order to rescue to have an opportunity that the whole humanity should survive. There should be not the occurrence of Third World War. Likewise, several treaties, several agreements, several things were launched that the world should not see the destruction only. There should be some sort of friendship. There should be some sort of friendship between the two countries, which will allow them to come forward, to have talks, to have talks with each other. Likewise, to have that there should be the survivance of the humanism. Now we will go to enlighten the role of these powers, how they managed to keep their relations alive during the Cold War arena. As such, they made several treaties or several arms control treaties whereby they tried to make themselves able to maintain the world peace. The first such treaty was signed between USA, UK and USSR in 1963 which is known as LTBT Limitation Test Ban Treaty. It came into force on 5th of August 1963. Under this treaty, there was a ban on experiments in the atmosphere, underwater and outer space. Likewise, another arms control treaty was signed between the 5 nuclear powers, what we know as Npt Non-Proliferation Treaty. It came into being on 1st of July 1967. It was signed in Moscow and then London. After that, it was signed in Washington, and its aim was to allow only 5 nuclear weapon countries to have the nuclear weapons in their hands, and to stop the rest of the world, rest of the countries, that they should not possess the nuclear arms. Likewise, another talks were held, what we know as SALT I. The SALT I Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty, it got started in the year 1969, and it was signed between the USSR, the then USSR President Brezhnev, and the American President Nixon. Under this treaty, which was signed in Moscow on 26th of May 1972, it was decided that there will be a ban on anti-ballistic missiles. There will be the limitation on the anti-ballistic missiles. Likewise, there was an interim agreement that strategic offensive arms should be reduced. Likewise, after that, another talks were held between between Brezhnev and Jimmy Carter, what we know as SALT II. This SALT II was signed in Vienna on 18th of June 1979, in which it was decided that there will be complete ban, limitation on anti-ballistic missiles. Likewise, strategic offensive arms shall be reduced. Likewise, after that, there was START I, what we call Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. Under this, there was an agreement between the then USSR President Gorbachev and George W. Bush Sr. A treaty was signed in Moscow, in which it was decided that there will be a complete ban on the reduction of strategic offensive arms, and there will be reduction of these anti-ballistic missiles. Likewise, START II was held on 3rd of January 1993, in which George W. Bush Sr. and the USSR President Yeltsin made an agreement that there will be the reduction on limitation of strategic offensive arms. So this is all about the agreements of the arms control, or what we call the disarmament treaties between the USA President and the USSR President.